Hi, I'm Mary Kurek with Frontrunners Innovate, and welcome to another edition of our online media platform series that we have. And today we have Chukwuma, Okenwa, and Chuck, as I call him, or CEO, as he's lovingly referred to online, is a social entrepreneur and has a heavy background in education, school administration. And he's a coordinator of the Values Project. And he is so involved in entrepreneurship and advocacy and networking and good governance, all of the above, that we wanted to bring him forward. And let's find out a little bit about him and the work that he's doing, because as we know, in the African continent, leaders like Chuck, I'm calling him Chuck, are so needed, and to get things rolling in the right direction. So Chuck, welcome to our format and my interview platform. So we're tickled to get to know you a little bit more. You and I've already spoken, and we've done some introductions back and forth, so I feel like I know you real well already. But we're going to let you talk about your background first to everybody else so they can get a chance to get to know you. So let's start there. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary. I'm pleased to be on this platform. I'm somebody, basically, let me start from the angle of the family. And then before I get into the professional background, and of course, in terms of the things I do now in the society, basically, I came from a background of 6 children. You know, yeah, 6, and I'm the last out of the 6.
Oh, you're the baby.
Yeah. And one very interesting thing that happened when I was born was I was only 9 days when my dad and my mom had a problem. My dad sent away my mom, and just 9 days, just a day after circumcision. So I was basically raised up by a single parent who happened to be an educator, a teacher, and of course, she founded an institution. So over time, growing up under her, and somebody that's very passionate about humans, like she was into humanitarian services. She had passion for human capital development. So growing up under her, she kept on telling me, you know, that our dad was not there for us, so we just have to make her proud. So like I drew that inspiration. She was like a great hero, taking after her. So when I was done with the university, the first work I wanted to do was to join the military, because very passionate about Nigeria, yes. I wanted to serve, yeah. So, but then she said that out of all of the children, she discovered I share some passion with her in terms of human capital development. And of course, that's very true. Very passionate about teaching about children, you know, about youth, because she founded both nursery, primary, and secondary school.
Wow.
So, yes. So I was done with my youth service then at age 23. I became a school director, the director of the school. Okay. Then it was about just about 50 teachers working across 3 sections of the school. As we speak at the moment, the staffing is about 101 staff of the institution, you know, with children across of all ages for the nursery, primary, secondary school. So that's about background in terms of education. I practically learned you know, how to be a great teacher under mom before taking some.
Yes. Right. You learn by just jumping right in, and you know, that was a great experience for you, really, wasn't it? Yeah. So okay, bring us up to date now from that experience, what you're doing now.
Yes. You know, the correlation it has, like particularly for me, I discovered that most of the things I do now has a nexus to do with teaching, impacting knowledge to people, whether it be at the classroom or on television. I get to talk a lot on national television. I will send in some of those links, like I'm a regular on analyzing issues that have to do with policy, issues that has to do with security, issues that has to do with youth development, governance, especially like any issue that trending issues, emerging issues within Nigerian space that has to do with governance. You know, so basically I do public affairs analysis. You try to make out economic sense, security sense out of, you know, rising matters within the nation. And then beyond that also, like under the lead network, where I'm also the executive director. You know, it's pretty a new NGO. You know, Lead Network. Lead is the acronym for Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Advocacy Network. Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Advocacy Network. And of course, what it's just all about is like helping to inspire the next generation of leaders. We look at young people out there, inspire them to first learn how to lead themselves, to manage their times, to manage their priority, to manage their, the things they want to achieve. Find a direction for themselves, and then they can now become a point of direction for others. So one of the things I've laid emphasis on over time is personal leadership. Yeah. The need for people to get it right with themselves first, and then you can lead others. And then I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs, very, very passionate, because the jobs are not readily available. So what we tell young persons is you can actually create a fortune for yourself. You can deploy your talent. You can be apprenticed. You can learn under someone that is already an entrepreneur there, and you can be able to find your feet, either in the arts, fashion, music, ranging from one field to another, especially when it has to do with empowering women entrepreneurs, because of course it appears that they have limited spaces to express themselves, So we try to let them know that you can.
That's fantastic. You've got a lot of irons in the fire, as we say, or wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. So that explains the Lead networking organization. And how new is that? You said it's fairly young NGO, right?
Yes, it is.
Lead is fairly young.
Barely 2 years. Yes, 2 years.
Last 2 years?
Yes, barely 2 years. Yes.
Okay.
Barely 2 years that I founded the organization.
Where are you finding the people to connect to for that organization? How are you building that? How are you partnering with other organizations? Are you just recruiting by social media? How are you working with that organization?
Okay, at the moment, like in terms of collaborations and in training people and in getting people members for the organization, I'm very much a grassroots person.
Yeah.
So apart from the online, we try to interface with young persons physically to engage them. We hold physical trainings. Of course, we also have our website there, and we have our social media platforms. We're on Twitter. We are also on Facebook. But beyond that, our major focus is on interfacing with people, being able to impact them physically, counsel them, find out what they want to do and how we can be of help. We've not been able to get any funding, but of course, one of the things also that has helped us over the years is leveraging on the social capital I've built over the years. So sometimes we could get free venue, free media coverage, or people offering to train participants at your training for free of charge. The last summit we did, a summit I've hosted for the past 6 years, we call that Employability and Entrepreneurship Summit. Employability and Entrepreneurship Summit. And the last one, in one particular panel we had, we call that Four-Sector CEO Forum. Four-Sector CEO Forum. So we got a CEO from auto mechanics and mechatronics. We had one from ICT. We had one from agriculture and of course, real estate. So after that, many of them offer to train some young persons that have interest in their field at no cost. And that was quite impressive because of course, once someone is trained, is apprenticed, the person can be able to start out. When you have the fund, you can actually get the tools for yourself. If you don't, we advise them to combine with whoever trained them, get to serve for some years. We have a very unique apprenticeship model in this part of the world, which have also been understudied by the Harvard Business School. Oh. And currently, yes, it started in Igbo land. You can check that out, right? Igbo land, I'm Igbo by tribe. What that means is it basically addresses the major problem that startups experience, and that is in terms of finding mentorship and funding.
Okay, Zoom's doing its fun thing again and freezing you up.
The
Check.
model, how like the Igbo apprenticeship model works is basically you stay under. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. You were frozen for a
Okay.
second, but yeah,
Okay.
start to explain the
Yeah, sorry.
model because we didn't hear
Yes.
anything about the
So
model.
how the model works is you serve someone after some time, learn the trade, and after that, after about 3 to 5 years, the person gets to settle you with tools and funding. So you're able to start up your own business. So that's how it works. It's able to solve the issue of finding both mentorship and funding. And it's been very effective.
So let me see if I get this straight. So if you have a business that wants to have an apprentice, they sign up for the program or whatever, they bring that person in under them and that person apprentices with them for 3 to 5 years. At the end of that period of time, that business needs to provide a little bit of funding, seed funding for that person to go out and start their own business.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
And very effective, very effective.
Apprenticeship is free. So for the seed, in order to get the seed funding, they've got to agree to work with that business for 3 to 5 years. And then, okay, and then they get the seed funding to move on. The thing about that comes to my mind is if you're training somebody to be your competitor, how would that work?
Okay,
like take all the knowledge you gave them and all the secret sauce that you have.
The way it works, like really, is that, like for instance, if you train someone like in the New York, your own business is in the New York, then certainly the person have to go to like Philadelphia to open the business.
Okay. They can't be. So it's a non-compete.
So that's how it works.
There'll be a non-compete clause. Okay, I was going to say. Yeah, I could see, I'm not a believer in competition. I feel like everybody should have, there's plenty of work for everybody. There's plenty of clients for everybody. And it's more of a spiritual thing. If it gels with me, great. If it doesn't, then I'm going to move you to somebody else that I know that could benefit from the relationship. But that's interesting. That's very fascinating. So it's been working really well. Then
it works pretty well.
Awesome. Fantastic. So I wanted to get, I had on my note sheet, the coordinator of the Values Project. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, like the Values Project, basically, it's a project I founded in 2012. And of course, it's geared towards helping to infuse the right values of nationalism, in people, patriotism, how they could be patriotic, how they can follow the rules that is set out, obey traffic rules. When you finish like taking stuff and you want to ditch the waste, the sachi, you have to put it in the right place. You don't just dump it anywhere. So we discover what actually inspired me to undertake that project. I live in a nation where we have too much of rules, but less regard for values. So we said, rules actually, like we said, that people do not do what you expect, but what you inspect. So when you make the rules, you have to like inspect to ensure compliance, right? But of course, when you have to like set the values and all the rest, right? Just a moment. So
okay. He must be in a place with lots of noise around. So he's
all right. Hello.
Yeah, we got you.
So like the idea behind that, right? It's like when you have too much of rules everywhere, but less regard for values.
Okay.
Values, anything I have as value, whether someone is there watching me or not, then certainly I do that because the value is something I esteem. I understand the very essence. But when you talk about rules, when you make rules, you need someone to watch people to ensure that they comply with those rules. So I discovered that it's easier and better to build like a kind of a nation based on values, working on people's mindset than just trying to enforce laws on them, by default.
To
you
me,
know,
it's like character building. It's character building when
yes,
you instill
yes,
the values. And, I've heard that consistently. I have not run into anybody from your continent that was, I'd say, negligent on rules or values, but I do know that it exists. It exists
yeah,
everywhere.
sure,
Here
yeah,
is,
sure,
and the younger set, I think, hate the rules and don't want to follow them. And so that you've got a lot of issues with that. And, the sense of authority over people sometimes, I think about, the military. Back when I was running a chamber of commerce really close to the back door of the world's largest Marine Corps air station, I would get a lot of young fellows that were coming out of the Corps who wanted to start their own businesses and would tell me that they never wanted to hear from a drill sergeant again. They never wanted anybody to tell them what to do or how to do it again. And so I think it is a mindset thing. And if the younger you are and you go into a situation where there's a lot of rules, the more, I guess you would buck the system, so to speak, the more insistence on doing your own thing. But I think if there's some kind of a balance of being able to be heard, getting your voice heard, plus the values, then you feel like then that's a way of life you can deal with. That's a way of life that's
yeah,
good. Every human
yeah,
being feels like they just want to count for something. They want to have a voice in whatever is going on. So whenever I work on committees or whatever, you'd always have to think about how to let everybody have investment in what was going on, because if they had investment and say so, they had their voice heard, they're more likely to be on board with everything. The
yeah,
unfortunate part
yeah,
where you are is a lot of government rules. And so you're not able to do a lot of that. So we're
yeah,
going to put some wheels under you to get into the governance end of things so you could
yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
that side of the house,
That's
so
right.
to speak. But this is great. I mean, you cannot go wrong in values training. I mean, there's just no way you can miss the mark on that. So these are the things that you're involved in right now. Is there something new coming in the next year, or is there something that you're wanting to expand particularly? Tell me what's happening or what you envision for the next year.
Okay, like next year, of course, we want to train more entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And yes, and one of the projects I'm working on now is raising up more young persons as SDG advocates to identify one sustainable development goals they can work with, they can identify with.
Okay.
Because I discovered the best is to catch them young. And currently, yes, with one of my lecturers at UNITA, that's the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, he linked me up with his teacher, because he's pretty young. So his secondary school teacher that inspired him into becoming a diplomat. He works with United Nations now, and it's one of the course directors. So he linked us up, and he's in charge of change makers in Germany. So there is a project we are running concurrently now, both in Germany and of course in Enugu, Nigeria, for students, like involving 20 students from both ends, educating them about SDG. And of course, Julian have also promised to give a free course, United Nations course to the students on both angles. That will be done virtually. And of course, there is also an SDG summit coming up in Germany, June next year. And Mr. Axel has also invited me. So we are trying to work around training more young persons to appreciate their role in actualizing the SDGs by 2030. Yeah. And then also want to do a lot more in terms of getting young persons engaged. Because the commonest thing here is for people to come out of school and there is no job anywhere, no work anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very painful. And of course, according to our economists, when you have a high unemployment rate plus a high inflation rate, that is equal to the misery index. So we see like lots of young persons getting into depression.
Yeah.
Seemingly frustrated because, two things. First is that the quality of education they had never really prepared them to become entrepreneurs. They
Mhm.
were actually trained to look for white-collar jobs, which are not readily available. So when they are done from school,
Yeah.
it is the responsibility of some of us in the social space to see how to now begin to direct them to look the way of entrepreneurship as a way to help themselves.
Yeah, you hit a big piece right there when you said that a lot of kids are getting trained for the white collar jobs, the big ticket jobs. And honestly, if they could find a job in what they're being trained for, it would pay them pretty well and they'd have a good living. But the chances of them doing that where they're located, not realistic. I have a mentee in Nigeria who's also being trained for something that I'm kind of concerned whether or not she's going to be able to find a job in country for that. But maybe she could very well do that outside of country. But it's what it's where her path is. And so I could see that being a real problem to address. I just feel like they're more realistic opportunities out there for a lot of the youth. This is good stuff. You're just into all kinds of cool things. But as I've told you when we started, the last question is, who do you need to help you grow what you're doing over the next year? What type of people do you need?
Yeah. Basically, let me first thank you for connecting us to Ambassador Khan.
Yeah.
I always love to see myself as a student for life, a life student.
Yeah.
I love to learn. Yeah, I love to learn because capacity building does it for me. And that was how I connected to Sharon, on the platform of UNITA. Just keep learning.
Yeah.
I also started a course yesterday on cultural diplomacy, right? Short courses. So by the time I'm done with that, I must have completed my diploma in multicultural diplomacy.
Okay, cool.
So I want to learn more, the kind of persons, and I'm also happy I've met one of them, and that's Mary. I'm so privileged to meet you, like
I
inspiring.
feel like I'm talking to the future Minister of Education for Nigeria is what I feel like.
Yeah,
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm looking for opportunities. Like I'm basically like looking out for opportunity first to do a course out of Nigeria, maybe a 1-year course where I could learn practically. I've had opportunity of visiting 6 nations, um, 4 African countries, and then 2 Asian countries. So I'm looking at opportunity of like this time, not just visiting to stay just some few days, like maybe 2 weeks on holidays, but this time around having opportunity of learning with others from different parts of the world, learning practically for like 6 months to 1 year. I believe, culture is transferable. Like I want to have that opportunity of like learning some things, like getting more passionate about how systems work, for countries that have like good systems. I visited Singapore, but I just stayed there like 2 weeks. It's a very wonderful country. And also Dubai, that's the UAE. And of course, hope to be in Dubai for the World Expo sometime in November. I'll be there because a lot of innovations. I love getting inspired, but I'm endlessly looking out for like opportunity to learn in an environment other than Nigeria, other than Africa, for about 1 year. And then I'm also looking at collaborating opportunities apart from learning opportunities. I'm looking out for opportunities to collaborate with those that are very passionate about empowering women entrepreneurs. Empowering women entrepreneurs. I think a whole lot has to be done in that regard, because especially as we advocate for gender equality, one of the very interesting things that happened here in this part of the world is, if you like, you take a lady out maybe for a dinner or a lunch, it is expected you pay for everything. As a matter of fact, when you tell a lady, I love you here, the normal thing is for her to begin to think that all of her responsibilities is now your responsibility. Yes.
You be careful when you say that word then. It means
Yes.
something. Yeah.
So you have to like pay for everything. And I think one of the ways to correct that is to really help our ladies to be financially stable. Because interesting is only like in recent time where many parents could believe like sponsoring their females up to university education.
Yeah.
Before now, like you just sponsor your sons and leave the daughters. Because of course it's the responsibility of whoever loves them or whoever they get to marry, maybe their boyfriend or their husband, to take care of everything about them. So I'm very passionate, being that
I
I
think
was
my
raised
own
up
father
by-
had that idea about me. So
Yeah.
I think that was what he was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So women's empowerment and gender equality, and of course, financial freedom, or at least some independence for women. Where do you see yourself fitting with that? When you say you want to meet somebody who's into that can help you with that, do you have a vision for what could happen with that? If you met the right person, and I said, Chuck, I have somebody in Africa that could help you with whatever you want to do in that regard. Would you think I'm going to produce a summit? Would you think I want us to produce a series of events, webinars, or whatever? Would you see I want to take her out in the field and have her work one-on-one with these people? What would you envision of that?
Okay, like in terms of the collaboration, of course, if it's someone also that have worked with women entrepreneurs, we will need the person's expertise. We can organize webinars for female entrepreneurs. I've done that with Julian Kaleti, where we got a whole lot of professionals, right? Mm-hmm. I sponsored the training, so got them into a hall, and then we connected Julian through a Zoom.
Virtual, yeah.
And yes, and then television, like all of the multi visuals, and it was quite amazing. He interacted with the young professionals in Enugu. So I love that like ability also, like volunteering could be like in terms of time. Yeah. It could be like maybe we think of like projects where young persons could pitch the ideas, young females, those that have business ideas, right? Mm-hmm. And then if there's any funding to help them, that would also be nice. Yeah. But of course, the third aspect, which is the most important, is also like volunteer opportunities now for those girls, right? Yeah. Like getting a volunteer opportunity. I know there was one that came up in the UN headquarters in New York. And of course, Julian told me that they need a female that is less than 29 years. I actually recommended a female. She was 27 as at then. And of course, she made a first class in school and had an international passport. So Julian was ready to help out. So such kind of opportunities to help people build capacity. Well, it's also like
that's fascinating. So maybe kind of like what we were talking about before we got on record, is being able to train the ladies up to a place where maybe at least some might be eligible for future leadership opportunities, like what you just mentioned. Like, they got to be to a certain level to be able to get to that place. So to be eligible for things like that. So from a mental and skill standpoint, being able to get them there. The lady I have in mind works with ladies who would be entrepreneurs. It's a mix. It's professional, and then it's just starting out, like in cottage industries, what you'd say. And it runs a gamut of entrepreneurship all the way through wellness, personal wellness, which is part of that. I think she has a real feel for that. I've heard her speak. I've interviewed her. I was talking to her this morning on WhatsApp. She's in South Africa. And so I don't know how far from Johannesburg, but she's in an area that's been really conflict ridden over the last little while with shootings and whatnot. So she and I weren't able to talk today because I think they have electricity problems in her area. Surprise. But she may be somebody of interest to you. And I have someone else I want to talk to you about that has emerged in my brain right after this. So that could be a really interesting opportunity there for both of you. So let's Linda end on this note. So everybody watching, there's some rich opportunities here for you to get involved and collaborate with this young man. And so if you see yourself here, reach out. we'll have his contact information via LinkedIn and some of the links that he provides for his social at www.frontrunnersinnovate.com. So go there to see this. You'll see this interview and then some more information along with his bio. So he could be an excellent speaker for one of your events. And I already have in mind him for another speaking gig. Let me write that down before I forget. So this is terrific. So thank you, Chuck. We appreciate all that you're doing here, and everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll follow along. We'll see how things are going. Check in with you again. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Thank you.